What is going on, everybody? It's Kyle. Welcome to the channel. And today I'm going to be talking about my experience getting a CDL through a sponsorship program through Old Dominion. Pros and cons, whether you should or shouldn't. So right now we're sitting at the pit getting ready to get loaded. Once he comes through and loads me up, we'll be on the road and I'll be back with you guys. Alright, so we're loaded and we're on our way down. We're going from Maine to Massachusetts. So I wanted to talk about CDL sponsorship. Your company pays for your CDL training. I know, the mega carriers are the big ones. So I looked into doing this. The thing was, I didn't want to, one, really go over the road. I wasn't really too thrilled with that idea. The other thing was, I didn't want an automatic restriction. I was looking around trying to figure out where I could go to school to get my license without an automatic restriction. Doing research, and I almost went with a couple of the companies, and then I really told myself that an automatic wasn't really what I wanted. So then I ended up looking around at the school that was local to me. I sat down there with the recruiter in charge of admissions type deal person, whoever it is, whatever you want to call their title. We sat down and he was really pushy to sign me up for the classes. He was like, well, we'll just get all your finances figured out, but we'll sign you up. And I wasn't really too thrilled with that type of approach. The private school was $12,000. I had just graduated college. I already have some student loans, so I didn't need to add any more loans to my debt, if you will. I was trying to get a job to make money. So it was $12,000 in order for me to go to this school. I didn't really want to tack that on. I almost did, because they'll train you in a manual, and I was really close to doing that too. Then, I forget how I stumbled upon it, but a couple people told me about LTL carriers. Old Dominion, Saya, Estes. They told me that some of them do CDL sponsor programs. Looking through the requirements and things like that. So I applied to Old Dominion. That's who I ended up choosing to go with for my CDL training, and that's who I ended up getting hired by. So what happened was, I got hired last January. So I got hired in January, and what the requirements for the program, you work the dock for a short period of time, 3 to 6 months, and then they start training you to get your license. That's one of the cons to getting your sponsorship through an LTL carrier. A lot of you guys and girls, and myself included, didn't really want to do anything other than driving. I want to just go, get my license, be on the road. While that's a con, it's also a pro. For me, once I started working and driving with Old Dominion, I knew the back end of how everything worked on the dock. A lot of the drivers there had stuff that was wrong with their trailers, and they were trying to get one of the dock guys to come over and fix their trailer, rearrange it the way that they want it. A lot of them didn't really know how to use the forklifts. Well, the benefit of being on the dock, you know how everything works, you know how the computer works, you know how everything works. You just hop on a forklift, you rearrange your trailer real quick, boom, you're done. You don't have to ask anybody for help. That's one of the pros of working the dock beforehand. The other one is it really kind of pushed me to see if this was something that I really wanted. You go to school, the company pays for it, you have to do a year contract, and you do it and you're like, I don't really want to do this. Well, guess what? You're stuck paying back the money that they paid for it. So to me, I was sitting there, yes, I wasn't driving. It was something to say, like, I have to go through this step in order to get my license. Is that something I'm willing to go through in order to get to that end goal? Does that make sense? It was kind of a mental thing. Working the dock, it wasn't terrible. It's not really a hard job. Some of the people make it seem like it's a really hard job, and it really isn't. As long as you apply yourself a little bit, it's not difficult. 3 to 6 months on the dock before they put you in the program. Along with that, while you're on the dock, they also do your yard time. So you learn to shift if you haven't, get used to it. learning how the truck operates, bobtailing around the yard, getting the feel for how a semi actually feels. For those of you who have never driven a manual semi before, or even a semi at all, a lot of people try and say that it's similar to driving manual in a vehicle. The idea is the same. It's not the same, really. Everything else is different about RPMs, and then this is unsynchronized, so rev matching, else you're grinding for days and things like that. For Old Dominion, you need to do 25 hours of yard time. The trainer in the truck, and this is while you're on the dock. My second day, because he felt I was pretty experienced, because I had trailering experience, pulling boats and dump trailers and car trailers, things like that. So he had me hook up to some tandems. I was pulling those around the yard. It was a weird pulling two trailers. I was terrified to pull two trailers. For whatever reason, it was going to be this whole crazy thing. That seemed like it was this whole scary task. And it really wasn't. It's actually pretty easy. Just get the feel for it. And then start learning how to back up the truck. I have trailering experience. I don't have experience with a giant 53-foot trailer where I can't see out the sides or the back. Learning how the truck and trailer combo work, how they feel, where they sit, how to manipulate the truck and trailer in order to get it where you want it to be. You also start going through the pre-trip a little bit, not a whole bunch, depends on who's training you. Then you can start to do some maneuvers. Now once you do your 25 hours, now I'm up in the Northeast. I don't know how, I can't speak for every other terminal. I know company-wide the requirement is 25 hours. However, once I went down to Jersey City for my training, the trainer down in Jersey City said that he doesn't send guys to school unless they've done 40 hours. Because he feels you don't know necessarily a whole lot of what you're doing with 25 hours of yard time, which I get. It makes sense, especially for somebody who's never had any experience pulling trailers. So I did my 25 hours, did my yard time, learned how to back a little bit, learned to do some maneuvers, and then they send you to school. So then I went to Jersey City after completing my 25 hours of yard time. So Old Dominion covers my mileage, my fuel. They gave me $30 a day for food, and they put me up in a hotel. It's not too bad. Me and a buddy of mine from my terminal went down there, and we went to the school together. But once we were down there for a week, and the first day you sign your contract. If you don't do a year, you owe them $3,500. Keep people from coming in, getting a license, and then leaving. And for the most part, it's just watching videos about being aware, safe driving, defensive driving, looking ahead, backing into doors, making sure that your doors are open if you got swing doors, pre-trip stuff, inspections, weigh stations, looking at signs, being aware, moving over for stopped vehicles, etc. And then the last day, we all got in the truck one by one with the regional safety guy. He took us for a lap around the terminal. Now again, this could be different from terminal to terminal. This is just how ours was. Took you for a lap around the terminal, saw how you shift to make sure your seatbelt was on, mirrors were adjusted properly. It was almost like a little bit of a road test type thing. You need your permit before you go. And if you don't have it before you come to Old Dominion, they'll pay for that as well. They get your DOT physical squared away through their doctors. Now I had already had my permit and physical taken care of before I even got hired there, so I didn't have to worry about that. The last day you do your road test with the safety guy, he gives you the seal of approval, says you did good, and then you take a written test. So all throughout the week you're going through, taking notes. They give you this whole binder full of printed out sheets with blank spaces that you got to pay attention with the videos, take notes. You do that all week, and then at the end of the week, you have to take a written test. Written tests, this is plural. Basically what they are is they're the written tests for your permit as well as the endorsements, just to see that you know what you're talking about and you have the information. I was technically grandfathered in because I got my permit and stuff before February 7th. However, I went to school after that, so they were doing all the ELDT, entry-level driver training stuff. You take the test. I took the combination, air brakes, general knowledge, hazmat, doubles, triples, tanker tests. So then once you take all those, he gets your scores, and then he sends those to the state and or the FMCSA. I can't remember exactly which it saying that this is your score, you know what you're talking about, you passed your ELDT training, you're good to go. So then once that happens, you go back and then you're cleared to start training with a driver trainer. Once we came back, we were good to go. So here's the difference between the driving school around me and the driving training that I did through Old Dominion. Every trainer that I had went to this one school that we have in our area. I'm not saying anything bad about it. All of them had said that you get a much better training and education through the training that you do with Old Dominion. Now, that being said, if there's a school in your area, again, I'm speaking for the one that was in my area. This was just the best course of action for me, the best possible route, and, you know, it could be similar for other people. But, you know, if you've got a school that's around you for a couple grand, you know, I know a lot of community colleges do it, and, you know, it's 3-4 weeks, and you feel that's good for you, by all means, go right ahead and take care of that. However, for me, this was a $12,000 school. It was 6 months. So for 6 months, I would be paying $12,000, not getting a paycheck. To me, I felt as though I could not do that because, you know, I had just graduated college. I already had some student loans, not a lot, but, you know, I wanted a job that I could take care of my living expenses. From the time I spent at Old Dominion getting my license, I made $44,000. And that was paid training. So since I was on the dock to when I got my license and unfortunately ended up leaving. And I'll get to that in a sec. I made $44,000 and I came out with a license with all my endorsements. That's the benefit I see to the Old Dominion training. Now, with the schools, again, never went, but from what I was told from my 5 or 6 different trainers that I was with, because at Old Dominion, they jump you around with different trainers. While you're on the road, see how different people approach things. You know, everybody's got a different teaching style, just to kind of well-round you in different things. You know, one guy or girl might not be able to answer a certain question, which happened to me. I was having trouble downshifting into 8th gear. Well, I got switched from one trainer to the next. All of a sudden, this one trainer gave me a bit of information. Boom! No more missing 8th on the downshift. So I think it's a very well-rounded education in the sense of, you know, you get to see a lot of stuff. Now, from what they've told me about school, they basically just kind of, you know, they go over the first 4 weeks is getting your permit. Well, I already had my permit. So I would have been paying to sit there, and I would have already had my permit, and that was the #1 red flag, or one of the red flags that I was just not about it. And then they go through the school, similar to the videos that we watched at the Old Dominion school. Watch more videos, and then you're out in the yard in the truck learning your maneuvers, your pre-trip, in-cab, brake bleed down, all that stuff. Now that is the benefit of the school versus Old Dominion. Now again, this could have just been my terminal, but for me and my friend went to school together. When we came back, we really only had one in-yard trainer, one of the line haul guys. All of the other guys were out on the road, and, you know, they helped us when they could. As far as brake bleed down, pre-trip, we were kind of on our own. Thankfully, the school was over. That's one of the downsides I see to their school. I feel like they could do it for 2 weeks to get, like, you know, really drill that home. He and I were very adamant, so in the morning when the drivers come in, they do their volume run or so before their routes. He and I would stay back. We would practice the brake bleed down. We were in-cab inspection, the exterior pre-trip inspection. We would break it up. Sometimes, you know, we do one a certain day, one a different day. But as, you know, we started booking test dates, we started doing it every day, crunch time, going from one to the other to the other. The trainer gave us this book to go off for pre-trip and everything like that. It was a lifesaver. So we would just practice, pretend one of us was the trooper and the other one would go through the whole thing, and we'd mark off what they missed and then go back. And then by the end of it, we were doing it for about 4 weeks, 6 weeks or so, just rattling it off. It was second nature. So then it became test time. And then we ended up getting our licenses. I never technically failed, quote unquote. I blew an air hose on my brake bleed down my first time going, so he failed the truck. He told me that he didn't fail me, it wasn't my fault. So he failed the truck and I had to go back. And then I went back, got through all my pre-trip inspection, brake bleed down, out exterior inspection, in cab, all that stuff. And then got to my maneuver was in the truck the second time for 15 minutes. Once you're doing your training with drivers, throughout your time, you're getting ready, you know, they're teaching you how to shift. To me, instead of being in a parking lot practicing your maneuvers over and over and over and over and over and over and over again and doing your brake bleed down, I liked being able to go to different areas of the state, different routes. You go through, you're driving in these very, very, very different environments. You know, some are more open, some are a lot tighter city spaces. You know, you're pulling different trailers, learning to back up to different doors. Your trainers are helping you, and some of the trainers, which I liked, would kind of just be like, that's the door you're trying to get to, go ahead and do it. And they gave you the opportunity to make mistakes. And I feel as though that was more beneficial for me, because when it came time to practicing maneuvers, my buddy and I already had known how to manipulate the trailer a lot better because we had been in these different circumstances. You know, different areas, different businesses, different doors we're trying to back into, using the lift gate, you know, avoiding cars and obstacles. And when it came time to put the truck in a box that was outlined by cones, we kind of just would thread the needle. And you know, there's certain steps that you can do that make it easier for when you're learning how to parallel park and do like the blind sides and all that stuff. We tried to follow those and we kept messing up. So what ended up happening is we just kind of disregarded the steps and just kind of drove. We felt the truck. Because we had been driving and training, we had known how the trailer felt. So we just kind of were able to put the truck where we needed the truck to go. So I feel like that it's more of a beneficial thing for me. And like I said, I made $44,000 while getting my license. It took a little bit longer than the independent school. License paid for, my endorsements were all paid for. I was being paid the whole time. I could pay my bills while I was doing my training. It was all cut, dry, straightforward. And the best part was I had a guaranteed job after I quote unquote graduated. Once you graduate, or once you do your 240 hours technically is the training for P&D. You have this little checklist sheet, a progress report that your trainer signs at the end of every day. And it says what you did, what you need to work on. There's all a bunch of check boxes. And you know, you work through that throughout the weeks. And then by like, you know, week 2, you're kind of not really having any needs improvement. You know, everybody progresses at their own pace. So that's kind of what they want to see, is that you're actually trying. Once you do that, you get your license, you know, however many times it takes you, you get your license. Then you do your line haul training. You do a week of line haul training. You need your endorsements as well as physical license, your physical ID. So once I passed my test, I got my license, I did my week of line haul training, I was going to New York and back, and you're pulling the doubles. And, you know, it was actually kind of fun. Line haul was good. The hours weren't for me. The trainer was super cool. We're actually still really close now that I'm not with Old Dominion anymore. A lot of the guys I still talk to. I actually was just at the rest stop and I saw one of them because I passed by where my old terminal was. The only reason I left was because as soon as I got my license, freight market kind of was going down a little. Because I only have about 6 months experience and I'm driving this 18 speed, hauling a dump trailer, grossing about 100,000 pounds. To me, I never thought that it was possible with, you know, as little as experience as I have. Now, I pride myself with, you know, being a good driver and not being an idiot, which you need to be in order to drive any of these pieces of equipment. But you know, I never thought that I'd be able to drive something like this because everybody would want the experience. Well, so the reason I left was as soon as I got my license, started, you know, taking care of things on my own, freight market's already been slow because of the economy. And so there's a combo run. So you start as a dock worker in the morning, you know, load a couple trailers, and then, you know, you hop in a truck and do some volume runs. And that wasn't the end of the world. Then my family ended up selling our house and we were moving to Maine. So that really put some stress on me. And the one terminal that's up here, they didn't have any driver openings. And I had just gotten my license, didn't really want to, you know, work on the dock. I talked to my terminal manager about it. He was, you know, upset, not at me personally that I was leaving. He was just, you know, disappointed and sad because, you know, he said I was a good worker and he didn't want to lose me, which I understood. And I told him I didn't really want because I had my license, and he completely understood that. So I parted ways with Old Dominion once I moved to Maine. It was nothing really the company did. You know, the pay was really good for my area. I was making $24 an hour to work the dock, and then starting pay for a driver. Again, this could be, I'm pretty sure it's different, you know, based on cost of living. Starting pay for a driver hourly was $29, and I believe they had the wage meeting in August or September, so it could have gone up. I know our terminal got $1.45, but you had to be there a year in order to get it. So unfortunately, I left Old Dominion. Yes, I did have to pay back the $3,500. It did sting a little bit, but I wasn't trying to dodge them. I wasn't trying to, you know, stiff them. I had every intention of sticking with them for a while, and even transferring up here, you know, I had every intention of sticking with them for a little bit, but you know, it's just the way that life happened, and you know, I left on good terms, and I still talk to a lot of the guys that I worked with. They're some of my best friends, and you know, they're driving all day long, so I'm able to call them. But yeah, I think that if you're looking to get your license, I'm not sure about right now. Again, you'd have to call them and figure out the logistics of, you know, how they operate. But I definitely would give LTL carriers a chance with the, you know, the paid training. I feel as though, you know, you really put your, you know, your mind to it, you really, really want it. You know, I think it was a better option for me, instead of going over the road with some mega carrier, getting an automatic, being thrown out in anywhere in the country within, you know, a week or two of my training after I get my license, and not really knowing anything. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some good drivers, really good drivers that can come out of there. But for me, I think that from my experience, I think that this was the best course of action for me, and I think that I got the best training that I could. And then you also have to have the mindset for it, because there were two other guys that went to school with us that weren't really, you know, as, you know, they didn't really want to practice as much, they didn't want to try their stuff, and, you know, we kind of just said that, you know, that's your choice, but we're not going to waste our time. My buddy and I, we're going to just, you know, get right to it. And, you know, the trooper he told us that he could tell we knew our stuff, and compared to some other people. And so that's kind of how it went. But now I'm driving this rig here, 18 speed, and, you know, 40 foot, might be a 45, 48, I can't remember. Dump trailer, hauling aggregate. I can go into how I got that job. I'm going to be doing some videos, vlogs, whatever you want to call them. You know, and if you guys have any other questions about, you know, the trainings or things like that, or you want me to do another in-depth video, maybe like, you know, answer some questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'm going to answer as many as I can. Again, everything can vary from region to region, state to state, terminal to terminal. So don't hold everything I say to a T, because it could change. But for the most part, that's my experience. I don't even know if I was just rambling, or, you know, if there's actually information to pull from this. But I very much, if you have the choice to go paid sponsorship, oh, that's the other thing. I was home every day. Home every day. That's it. Home every day. The only time I wasn't home every day was when I was down my week in Jersey City. That's it. Every other time, home every day. So that was my experience going through Old Dominion's trucking school. I think it was a very good opportunity. I learned a lot. I met a lot of good guys and girls. So I definitely think it's something to look into if you're looking to get your CDL. A mega carrier is good for you. If an independent trucking school is good for you, do what's best for you. You know, nobody can tell you otherwise. As long, you know, and then put your mind to it. I hope I kind of explained it well. I might be leaving out some stuff. But if y'all have any questions, feel free to send me an email, shoot me a message, leave a comment down below. And if this is something you like, you know, try and do some videos of daily life with an end dump trailer, if that's something you'd be interested in, or just as a new driver out in the world, you know, I'm still learning. I'm by no means an expert driver. I've only got about 6 months experience, but you know, I'm able to drive this truck that grosses 100,000 pounds. The opportunity's out there. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to leave any comments down below, send me an email. You know, if this is something you'd be interested in, subscribe. I'm gonna try and put out some more videos and give it a like. Other than that, I'll catch y'all on the flip side. All right.